Hey, it's me again, and today we're going to talk about how we implemented Helpdesk at our hackerspace. So, before we get started, a little bit about background and the context of this talk. This talk builds upon the previous episodes where we covered networking, authentication, and email infrastructure. Helpdesk and shared mailbox is something that you want to introduce as soon as you grow beyond a one-person organization. And I've noticed that even some big companies failed to implement this properly. So for a hackerspace, this implied introducing tooling that would enable us easily building info at hackerspace.ee and accounting at hackerspace.ee mailboxes. So outsiders who would like to visit the space, they would reach out to info at hackerspace.ee asking for a time and place to pop in. Our hackerspace members also would use the info at hackerspace.ee address to reach us to schedule an event at the space. Of course, you would want to automate as much as possible, but until you do, you would use the shared mailbox to sort of track these tasks. And also people who would want to host stuff in our server room, they would also reach us via info at hackerspace.ee. And to keep the finances in order, we have the separate accounting at hackerspace.ee mailbox, which is used to send and receive invoices. Now again, if this would be a one-person gig, just Lauri at hackerspace.ee would suffice, but in reality we have about 10 responders who would respond to the emails going to info at hackerspace.ee, and that's where the necessity of shared mailbox really comes into play. Initially we used a dummy postfix deployment, which pretty much just broadcasted emails that went to info at hackerspace.ee. But that approach didn't really work well, and these emails would get stuck in spam filters. So after trying out a couple options, we ended up using FreeScout. So outsiders would use their own email service to send us email to info at hackerspace.ee. Those emails would land at our WaltDuck deployment that we discussed in one of the previous videos. FreeScout uses the IMAP interface to pick up the mail from WaltDuck, and FreeScout sends the notifications via SMTP. The notifications are sent to personal at hackerspace.ee mailboxes, and those mailboxes are also in the same WaltDuck deployment. So if the Helpdesk volunteers have set up mail client with the WaltDuck deployment, they get notification on their Android or laptops. Alternatively, they are welcome to set up mail forwarding in the WaltDuck webmail, which would then send the notifications to their personal, such as at Gmail mailboxes. So from the notification mail, you get the link back to the web interface of FreeScout. FreeScout sits behind a reverse proxy, which is configured to perform authentication with help of Authelia, and Authelia talks to the Active Directory deployment for the actual authentication step. Note that FreeScout also needs to talk to Active Directory. This is to look up user account information. And you can also configure FreeScout to grant users access to a shared mailbox based on a LDAP group membership. So this is just to illustrate how FreeScout works. This is the notification you would get from FreeScout. You just hit on the link here, which jumps to the FreeScout ticket. So this original message was assigned to me by one of our volunteers. Again, ordering VMs might be something that you want to automate, but until you don't have automation in place, you at least want to have a consistent user experience for ordering VMs. So from this original request, the SSH public key was missing because we have disabled passwords on our VM hosting infrastructure. And once they sent their public key, one of our volunteers created the VM, and now it's waiting for one of our board members to set up the recurring invoicing for this request. So FreeScout solves one of the key issues when you interact with a legal entity, that there are multiple physical people responding to the emails, and FreeScout allows you to keep the context of that interaction for the outsider. Tricky part is making sure your own people follow the procedure and to make sure that they redirect outsiders to actually send an email to the shared mailbox instead of interacting with the outsiders directly. Of course, you want to have some monitoring in place. So we actually created a WildDuck metric exporter to make sure that FreeScout picks up mail, and if it doesn't, we would get an alert. Something that is still missing is alerting when no response is sent back to the outsider. But this also looks like a weekend project to actually add this. Overall, I'm really happy with the results. I would say introduction of FreeScout has really streamlined our communications. And I would again like to highlight the importance of keeping context when the task moves between people. So whatever organization you're building, it could be a startup, it could be a non-profit organization, I would highly recommend introducing a shared mailbox solution from the start, really. So to wrap up, thanks for watching, and sorry if you expected a bit more technical talk this time. We have more episodes in works, so don't worry. If you want to know more about Hackerspace, if you think you found a security issue, again, reach out to our shared mailbox. I would like to thank Startup Estonia and Credex for supporting the creation of these videos.